Our leadership needs to change, but I'm not making the first step. Upskilling and reskilling like a pro. That are sentences we hear from our customers quite often. But how to do that? How to do that not just on an individual level, but as an organization? That's obviously the $1 billion question. My name is Robert Schaffner, and I'm one of the founders of Tranquility and a consultant and trainer as well. And in this video, we want to explore a little bit why learning journeys are so essential to thrive and help with change, with transforming organizations. In the last year, we interviewed around 200 leaders, many of them from the HR department, but as well other leaders. We also worked with universities, did our research together with the universities, and one of the findings has been that learning journeys can be an essential part to help to drive transformation or change in organizations. These learning journeys needs to be individualized as much as possible and feasible, but most important, they need also to ensure that things are learned in context of the organization, context of the role of the job people are working in. So let's explore that a little bit more in this video. If you look into learning journeys, our definition of a learning journey is, first of all, it's not an event. A learning journey, as the name says, is a process over a longer period of time. It consists of different learning events, and that might be in person or virtual, but it also includes strong peer groups to cooperate and work in peer groups. And it includes as well social learning, which might be structured or unstructured, which might be individual or as a group. So all together are different elements which build a learning journey. So if you look into learning in general, I like to quote Confucius, a philosopher from China, because he, many thousand years ago, defined 3 different ways of learning, which I really, really like, and describe a little bit what we need today to reflect on a little bit more, especially as organizations. He said the 3 ways of learning are, first, copying. So explore and look for things you like and make them your own. Copy them. Try to do them yourself. So it's extremely important that we have constantly the chance to visit and look into how others are doing things and adopt what we like to drive it ourselves. And by the way, if you copy from multiple resources, we don't call it stealing, we call it research usually, right? So copying is an extremely important part, and it's a very simple way of learning. The second part is a little bit more difficult, especially in our corporate context, because Confucius says the second way of learning is reflection. And for reflection, often we don't find time in our crazy, busy work life. And reflection also means not just as an individual, but maybe as a team, as a group, as an organization, reflecting on what did we learn from certain activities or, more important, failures. The third way of learning from Confucius is actually doing it. So applying things, learning by doing, training on the job. That third way of learning also means learning in the context of what you do in the organization, on your job or your role. So very, very powerful. It's the hardest way. So how can we foster environments that people feel safe to practice and can apply things and can test and try things? And it doesn't matter if there's a failure, because in the learning environment, we dust ourselves off and then we go back and try it again. And we do it maybe as a group, as a team. So that's the 3 ways of learning from Confucius. One step further, what I find extremely important, building on what Confucius was saying, is honest peer feedback. So I remember many times I went to my mom and asked for feedback for presentations and the keynotes and whatever I did. And of course, my mom loves me a lot, always gave me the best critics, which is great and which motivates you. But honestly, you don't learn that much because you don't see your blind spots. And in our complex environment, it's extremely important that we understand what are our blind spots as individuals, but as well as teams and organization again. So how do we establish the right level of peer group and feedback practice? In Tranquility, we use something which we call 3, 2, 1, go, and we provide you a link below so you can look into that. But an important point is, are we capable as an organization, and do we have psychology safety enough, the trust enough, that we can give honest peer feedback, not just on the same level, but maybe also on different levels in the hierarchy, right? Because if we can, then we honestly can learn as an organization much, much better, and we can identify our blind spots. As soon as politics, hierarchy, and other things are involved, that becomes very hard. The third element I want to share with you is a leadership skill I personally find extremely important today, especially in the context of learning. That's facilitation. Leaders need to become facilitators. What I mean with that is, as a leader, I constantly need to facilitate a process where we create new solutions, where we get new insights, where we're learning together, where we experiment together and fail together, and still improve and iterate and continue to drive new outcomes for our team. So having that facilitation skills helps a lot. And one of the processes we need to facilitate is, how does the team learn? Individual contributors, but as well the team. How do we learn as a team? How can we as leaders facilitate that learning process? And maybe another one, there's many, many more, but another one I personally find very important, and we celebrate that as well in Tranquility, is learning is fun. Especially if we do it as a group together, it's fun to try new things, to fail, to learn, to retry, to practice and to achieve a level of mastery together as a team. So learning is a social activity. Yes, there's tons of things we can learn alone, and we can use e-learnings and video and all kinds of stuff to improve learning in the organization, but never underestimate the team building character and the positive emotions you get if you foster learning as a group event with an experience. Super, super powerful, and helps as well driving change in the organization. And with that, maybe just to finish that little different steps, a little quote from Albert Schweitzer, which I adopted somehow. Because he said, luck is doubled if shared. And I would add, luck and knowledge is doubled if shared. So if your organization establishes a learning culture where you can share the knowledge, make it a team, an organizational experience, that's where knowledge really is doubling, multiplying, and which fosters enough confidence in the workforce to adopt to change, to drive change, to embrace change. So to wrap it up, organizations who are conscious about learning and implement learning journeys are much easier adopting to change, are much easier driving transformation. So be conscious in your organization. Meetings, events, activities. Do you have time for reflection? Do you celebrate not just the best successes and best practices, but maybe as well the biggest learnings out of the biggest failures you have done as a team or an organization? So sharing about failures and how to overcome them is very, very important in a learning culture as well. If you like that video and if you want to have a discussion about how to implement learning journeys in your organization, please reach out. Also, if you like that video, press like or make a comment. What do you do to drive learning in your organization? I would be desperately interested from the bottom of my heart to understand how you drive learning in your organization. Also, comment, share that video, reach out, and happy learning. Many, many thanks for your time and for listening.